was one of those days where you fish your whole life, and that's number one. Unbelievable. Best state smallies went 45.06, so 45 pounds 1 ounce. Had 12 fish over 5 pounds. One was 6 1/4. Threw back a ton of 4 3/4 pound smallmouth. Unbelievable. Started the day, the only thing that was biting was walleyes, and that usually doesn't happen out in this spot. And it was walleye after walleye after walleye. And then all of a sudden they just stopped, and I switched gears from a drop shot and a heavy tube, which usually one of those two gets these fish to go. And I picked up that little marabou fly, 11/32 ounce, and those fish just went nuts, and it was all day. It didn't stop. I mean, from 9 in the morning until leaving now at 7 o'clock, it was non-stop. It was fish after fish after fish. 4 pounders, 5 pounders, that 6 pounder, hammering that fly. But the biggest key to that was the 360. I wasn't just fan casting that fly because that would take forever on some of these spots, and it's a waste of time. I was pulling up to these 3 or 4 humps, and they have crayfish craters on there, just mounds, and the crayfish are loaded on these. And those fish come in there like wolf packs, and they just roam back and forth on these humps. And with the 360, you pull up there, you can see those divots or those craters, and oftentimes you see white lines in there. If you don't see them in those craters, you'll see them just running on top of that bar, and they're big white streaks. I got a screenshot today. I had 15 white streaks on there, 15 smallies at one time on the 55-foot 360 screen. Schools of smallmouth, big smallmouth. It was crazy. But as soon as you got one and you fought it in the boat, you got to drive back to your spot. With the 360, you pulled right back up to that bar, and those fish might have moved a little ways. You knew right where they were, and then you just fire the fly right at those white lines, let it hit the bottom, twitch it a couple times real slow, let it hit the bottom, mix it up a little bit, fish on again. It was crazy how many fish just pinpointing those casts. No wasted casts today. I fished from sunup until 7. There wasn't a cast the entire day. The entire day where I threw it out there and I didn't know where it was. That 360, I saw the humps, the craters, the fish, the rocks, every single fish, every single cast was the electronics. Yeah, you could scan it, put some waypoints on there, and you're going to catch some fish doing that. But those fish are moving up and down the bar. When you're casting without the 360, it's blind. I mean, yeah, you're in that general area, but with that 360, I see those marks. We're putting those baits right on the fish. I mean, cast after cast. I wouldn't go without it. If that thing broke, I would drive to town, buy a new one. I'd overnight ship one. There's no way I'd fish without it. It is absolutely the key to putting these monster bags of fish in the boat. This spring, we put the state record smallmouth in the boat. Today, 8 smallies over 45 pounds. This isn't Mille Lacs. This isn't the Great Lakes. This is a small lake using electronics and just hammering the spot on the spot and taking the biggest fish in the lake and putting them in the boat. Just nuts of a day. I can't even, I've used the word epic before. Epic is a failure to describe today. I don't know what the word is, but it's once in a lifetime. I mean, to be by yourself and put 12 giant smallmouth in the boat on just a small public lake, it's crazy. I mean, I won't be able to sleep tonight. Got a tournament in the morning. Not going to get home until probably 9:40, 10 o'clock. Got to get stuff ready, and then head out to the tournament in the morning. I don't think I'll sleep. The whole day, all it was jig hitting the bottom, raising it slow, and then just drag peeling. Big smallmouth busting the surface, tail walking, hammering on the rod, hammering the drag. That MGX spinning reel, I'm using a size 30 for all 5 reels. That drag is the smoothest thing I've ever used. It's the key to boating these fish. I think I lost 2 fish the entire day, and I was fighting these big smallmouth all day. Lost 2 fish. That drag is like butter smooth. You fight a fish, those fish pull it just soft and easy on those fish. And then I got the villain spinning rods. I got the 7'3" medium and then the 7-foot medium light. Both of those rods this year have been absolutely fantastic. Just kind of a do-it-all rod. 11 32nd ounce marabou jig, drop shots, wacky worms, tubes, Senkos. Anything we're throwing on those, it's been working. The cool part about it is I'm using those same rods and reels when I go to the river with the boys catching carp and suckers and catfish. And then I swap the spools on those reels with 4-pound mono when I go chasing bluegills and crappies. So those 5 combos I have, they work for everything all year round. I don't have to have 15 different rods and use certain ones for the river and this and that. 5 size 30 MGX reels, 5 medium and medium light rods, and you can tackle everything. Those rods, I mean, if that combo handles 6-pound smallies, it's going to handle anything. So good equipment, good electronics, and not just having the electronics, going out, putting the time in, and using them. I mean, all these fish, it's the electronics that's doing this. It's 100% why we're putting this many fish in the boat this year. And all the years we've been using it, but this year really, I mean, we've really been pushing that 360 and gaining confidence. Not only just seeing the rocks and the structure, but actually pinpointing those fish that are using it, getting those settings right, the contrast and the sensitivity, making those fish pop. I mean, these smallies today, they're big white blobs that just glow on the screen. It's a no-brainer what you're throwing at. I mean, it's a fish, and it just makes it easy, but you got to put the time in on those electronics. I mean, you don't buy these things, throw them on the boat and expect miracles. I mean, yeah, you can go out and leave it on auto and you're going to see structure and start finding cool stuff, but really honing in and just the confidence with it. I mean, I spent hours on these things. I mean, scanning. I'll go to a new lake, I'll scan for 6 hours straight before I make a cast. I'll have 55 spots marked, rocks, weed lines, inside corners, sand patches, gravel patches. Once you have it, it's yours. You don't have to do it again next time. Yep, weeds might change. Rocks and gravel patches aren't going anywhere. And once you have those, they're yours. When I'm doing that, I record everything. And then I take that home, put it in a program called Reef Master. I can load up every recording I've ever made on those Humminbirds, and I have a record of it, and I can see the layout of the bottoms of these lakes. So if I go out in the lake and scan for 6 hours, and I have a ton of bottom scanned, I can see every inch I scanned on my computer screen, and I can manipulate that. I can take pictures of it and put it in Google Earth. I can draw paths. I can add waypoints. I can just take snapshots of those spots. I can zoom in and follow the weed line where I was scanning, and I've found stuff that I didn't even see when I was scanning, where there might be 3 rocks that are 2 foot across, but they're tucked right up against the coontail, and that's the only thing on that weed edge, those 3 rocks. Well, I guarantee you, if you fish that edge, the odds-on spot for that big fish to be on is the spot that's got the 3 big rocks tucked right up into the coontail. But having that data, I mean, it's priceless. I mean, it's hours, and I mean, it's probably 200 hours on the big motor just scanning, collecting data, and not even fishing. But boy, I tell you what, we've got so much now. You pull to a lake, there's lakes, we have 50 plus spots with rocks on them. Most guys will probably tell you, yeah, they know 2 or 3 or 4 spots of rocks. 50 plus spots. We've scanned every inch of the lake, back and forth. When we go to a lake and do this, basically we call it farming. We're going back and forth, doing 100-foot swaths, covering everything. Because even if it's got a good 1-foot contour map, we found gravel, we found rocks, we found things out in the middle of nowhere where that contour line doesn't really tell at all. Yeah, you might see points and corners and go scan around there and find rocks. When you find rocks out on a 10 or 12-foot flat where it doesn't look like there's supposed to be anything there, and nobody else knows it's there unless they put the time in, you've got a honey hole, and you're going to pull fish off it, and it's probably going to pull fish off it every time you go out to it. But I mean, it's been non-stop. When we go to a lake, it's either scanning, recording, until we really feel comfortable with it. And we're on lakes where we put a lot of time in, and you might skip a little bit because you think, wow, that spot really doesn't probably have much. And you can go back, and all of a sudden you roll over a spot, and it might just be a 10-foot radius sand patch or gravel with a few rocks, and that thing can be absolute money. Example for today, I fished the lake 20 plus times. We've stuck a ton of big fish on it. 5 trips ago, I was on the phone with Lyle talking, and I was just kind of idling out across the middle of nothing. On the map, there's nothing. And when I hung up the phone, I looked at my screen, and right on the corner of it, on 100-foot width on each side, I saw just a hint of hard return that looked like sand or gravel. Well, I knew right away that that whole area I was in was mud, soft bottom. There wasn't much of a return. There's nothing there. So I put a waypoint way on the edge of the screen, right on that hard bottom, swung the boat around, dropped the 360 in, and pulled right up to that waypoint. What I found was absolutely nuts. The second I pulled up to there, there was like a mud hump, and it had divots full of crayfish, and there were white lines everywhere. Well, needless to say, the last 5 trips have been absolute smallie beatdowns on this spot. I found it, luckily, because this spot, I mean, there's nothing there on the map. It's bare, flat, nothing. And this hump is about the size of my boat, maybe a boat and a half. That's all it is. And I have pictures today of 15 smallmouth on the 360 on this hump. And they're on there, they're absolutely ripping the crayfish up. And these aren't little crayfish, these are monster crayfish. They look like lobsters. When you find the dead pieces up on shore and stuff laying around, it's almost scary. They would pinch your finger and it would hurt. These are big crayfish. You catch these smallies, their mouths are ripped up, they're raw spots, they're sore. They're used to absolutely beating down big crayfish. When they thunk that little hair jig, they thunk it like they're trying to absolutely knock the snot out of it, and all it is a little hair jig. It looks like a leech in the water. And then they're just in that mode where they're gonna kill something. But that spot, 75 feet long at the most, 50 feet, all those fish. Well, here's the cool thing. After I found that, I kind of scanned in that general area where there's nothing, found a second little hump. Now that hasn't been as good, but today it put out 2 5-pound plus fish and some 4s. There's crayfish mounds there, so it's just a timing deal. But I got 2 spots there. Well, now today I kind of investigated around a couple trees and I saw some little divots. Well, knowing what those divots were on these other spots, and they're crayfish mounds and full of crayfish, I knew that there was probably going to be fish around there because of those divots in the food source. Checked it a few times today. Sure enough, I pulled it the one time, white lines all over it, and they're feeding. I mean, they're hammering the bait when you put it in there. So it's a timing deal. So now I can go out here, get on these spots, and just keep rotating. If you hammer them, well, you can leave it and come back an hour later, half hour later, more fish are on there. If the fish aren't there, you leave it for a half hour, an hour, come back, school might have pulled up. And these are big schools. So you get a rotation. I spent all day on 5 spots in one little section of the lake. Saw a bunch of other boats at the access I could see. Nobody came back by me. Rotated 5 spots from 6:30 in the morning until 7 in the evening. Never saw anybody. Pounded smallmouth from the time I got there, and those walleyes quit on that first spot. Once those smallies started, somewhere right around 9 o'clock. From then all the way till 7 o'clock, it was non-stop smallies. The only time I wasn't catching them is when I was unhooking them, taking pictures, weighing them. It was crazy. Every spot had smallmouth on them, and that fly was absolutely knocking them senseless. I tell you what, probably every fish in that section of the lake knows what a black marabou fly is after today. Just an absolute crazy day. Check out bassbrawloutdoors.com for pictures, some video that'll probably be coming out for this. I've already done the sniping video. Some of the video I got today puts that to shame. The size of the fish today doing it, just crazy. So please stay tuned to that. Check out, we have Facebook page, Instagram, website. We run Bass Brawl Tournament Trail tournaments in West Central Minnesota, and then also our Bass Brawl Outdoors, where we try to just do a bunch of cool stuff, post a ton of pictures, give a bunch of tips, and if you pay attention and watch this stuff and put it to use, it is going to put more fish in the boat. Not only the electronics, but the rigs we're using and how we're fishing some of this stuff, the drop shots and the flies. It's just absolutely been a crazy year of big fish on finesse rigs, and most of it's tied to electronics. So thanks a lot. Talk to you later. Bye.